it's the four kind of main actors. Like, how did you get them ingrained in the military? Did you send them to boot camp? I mean, that'd be a fun experience for them to do.
Well, I don't. We don't have the we don't have the budget for the movie. Um,
Hey everyone, it's David Stark from Watcher Pass. Today I'm talking to Angus Benfield and George Eshleman of The Keeper, which is coming to theaters on May 24th, 2024. I'm going to talk to them right now. And while you're watching, if you can like and subscribe to this channel, that would be fantastic. I'll spend a lot. Thank you. So, thanks so much for joining me today. I've got Angus Benfield and George Eshleman talking about The Keeper, which is coming to theaters on May 24th, 2024. It is a heartfelt story about one veteran's quest to honor his fallen comrades and also to bring awareness to veteran mental health and suicide. It is a really interesting documentary. It has some really important themes and some, a lot of emotions as you'd expect from a movie about this. So I'm really excited to talk to you. And thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you very much.
Of course. So, first question, George, I'm curious, like, there is an incident in the movie which kind of like helps motivate you to start this journey. I wasn't sure if that was for the movie or if that was, also what happened in real life. I know there were some, I assume, some liberties that were taken with the story to turn it into a cinematic experience. So, what kind of brought you to do this whole hike, this 2000 or 200 something 2,000 mile hike?
To start off, the liberties taken were really none. It was true to fact. The beginning of the movie, yes, April 2015, I was called by my best friend's wife, said he had shot himself, and so that's true. Everything past that, again, is pretty much in step with what actually happened. But yeah, that's what put me on the path. And before that, I was okay until that phone call, and that pretty much broke me right there.
Yeah, I can imagine that just kind of left you with just kind of searching for something to do, right? Some sort of purpose, some sort of way to both deal with your own emotions and also kind of like bring honor to your friends. So that makes perfect sense why you would go on this extreme journey when that happened. And then, so, when you started this journey, you completed it. Were you kind of chronicling along the way, or, after you were done, did you then kind of sit down and write your book, which then turned into this movie?
Um, well, it's all, most hikers keep a journal, and that's what I did, was keep a journal. I carried, the name tapes that the families had sent me, strangers, and just everyone on Facebook. And obviously, my intention was not to come off the trail. It was to take my own life on the trail. So yeah, the process of healing and understanding where I was at um, went the entire length, of the movie and even past my hike. But the biggest message I gained was during that 144 days. So
Yeah, no, that is a a tough story to kind of like, I imagine, tell, and then also to put down to kind of, like, actually acknowledge what you were planning on doing and then like write that down and share it to the world. Like, that is it makes sense given what you are trying to advocate for, but that's also like a huge step for you to actually take. So that's an impressive feat that you overcame it, and also that you were able to like write it down and share it with everyone.
thank
And so how did this then kind of come to the big screen? Angus, did you read his book and then kind of think that this could come to the theater? Or George, is this something that you started kind of like getting, I don't know, queries about on whether this could become an actual movie?
well, yeah, I mean,
um
yeah,
yeah,
George,
good,
you
Angus.
started
I'm
with.
sorry.
Yeah, no, you start with the script because yeah, it starts with
Oh, I
George
was just
reaching
going
out
to say that.
to
Yeah, it was a pile of papers, and I was contacted, or we kind of met, an odd way, but Todd Tavolazzi and I got together. He's an active duty commander in the Navy, and he took what I put down on paper and turned it into what the keeper is. And he did it in such a way that me and him kind of collaborated, where he wanted to stay specifically to as much of my journal as we could. Um, so yeah, I mean that's how the message got out there. And after that, I went back to the sidelines and I watched Todd do the Hollywood thing they do out there, and got it in front of, or Angus, stumbled upon it, and it was, I couldn't have asked for a better person, a better group of people. So everything worked out like, I guess, it was supposed to, in the best way. So
Perfect. And that leads right into the next question. Angus, how did you kind of get involved in this? How did you get
Yeah.
into this project? And yeah.
Well, yeah, that's right. Yeah, and then Todd put the script on Inktip, which is like a platform where writers can put unpublished and produce screenplays. Yeah, and I was just looking for scripts that are, and I put out a notice that I was looking for sort of like inspirational stories and true stories and things like that. And then Todd reached out to me through there and said I have this script, and I read it, and I was really blown away by this true story, and also blown away the fact that no one's making this, and I'm like, no one's picked this up. It's just sitting here, and it's like. But then again, I see what Hollywood makes, and I'm like, I'm not surprised. It's just like, it's not a superhero. He's a real human being.
It's a kind
Oh
of
my
kind of a
God.
superhero, but yeah, exactly.
Yeah. He's a real superhero. Yeah. But yeah. So and I just thought, I said, Todd, yeah, I option the script, and then it was like, okay, let's try and make it. And so yeah, it was a like filmmaking is always difficult. It's never really easy, and we just kept trying to sort of get it off the ground and raising some money and reaching out to people and knocking on those doors. And part of the process was also the logistics of how are we going to do this film, because we really the biggest thing was to make sure that when George and I were talking about it, to make sure that we be as authentic as possible. So going to the actual within reason that we could get to the real locations on the Appalachian Trail. Some are pretty, 20 miles hike in with a truck crew. I'm not Werner Herzog. I'm not going to attempt that, but it's like, so, and I don't want to lose my crew, but so we did as much as we can, but we still were able to get this, pretty authentic, and especially the hostels and stuff. So that was the number one thing. So that logistics was like, it wasn't just location scout, because it's like, location scout, it's like, oh, we've got to find a house, there he is. But this is like, how do we, these are the spots, but how do we get to the spots, and do they have access to vehicles? So we had a lot of help, and we ended up getting more and more people helping us who are through hikers as well. And but yeah, so that logistically, that took probably 6 months, just that alone. And then and then it was really gets down to a point of we still were trying to raise the money. We were struggling to get, it's a very small budget film, obviously, but we still didn't even have that. And that was a challenge. But I felt like so passionate, and as George does too, we got to get this story out. If we just keep waiting around for another year, it's like this potentially can save lives. So we just kept moving forward. And sometimes you got to do it, like one foot in front of the other. Like in the story of the keep it. It's also in the filmmaking process. Is very much you just got to keep pushing it out there. And so we started casting. We started getting the crew together. It was a very small crew, and we kept going. And about 2 weeks out, we finally got some money coming through, which was great. Then I could sleep at night, and then we kept going. Yeah, I mean, the budget I thought was this, it ended up being a little bit bigger, but it's still very small. And we had a very small crew, and so which was meant we could get in and out. But yeah, and that's just we just kind of forged ahead and pulled it together, and lean and mean, and we got it shot. So yeah.
Yeah, and I like your point about how, we have to get this out because, it could potentially save lives. I do feel like in the military there is a push more, or maybe at least an acknowledgement now, that mental health is really important, and that there are issues that veterans go through that may be unique, and in that it's not like it's almost normal, or at least it should be accepted as normal. So I do like that you push this out to kind of have other avenues for people to see, like mental health issues and things like that. And one of the things I loved about this film is that you kind of always get the canonical, war experience, mental health issues, PTSD, but this film also seemed to focus on other potential causes of suicide, not just your typical like coming back from being deployed and you can't deal with civilian life. There were other things that happened to some people in this film that you wouldn't normally think about as reasons for suicide. So I like the variety. I like that you are pushing this message out. So
yeah, we wanted to really embrace all those different aspects.
Yeah. And so Angus, like, you are portraying a veteran, and also this is obviously a military themed movie. Do you have like experience, at least in the military, for like your family members, or did you kind of go do some research to kind of get into that mindset? How did you prepare to both make a military movie and also portray a veteran on screen?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't have any military experience except for I had some friends back in Australia when I was, because obviously that's the other thing too. I'm not even American, so it was interesting. Like in Australia, I hardly knew any military people, and then coming over here, I've moved. I live in, this is my home now. America's my home, and I've been here for 7 years with my family, and I've met so many veterans, so many military. I have a lot of them working on my crews as crew members and stuff, and it's just, I don't know what it is, but I find like I really connect really well with them, and I think there's a sort of, I don't know what it is relatability, and I think that, but I can't connect in the military background because I haven't had that, but I just listened to in the research and listened to George and Kenny as well, who's co-directing with me, and that was the thing too. I really, and he's a Marine, so it's like I was just surrounded by all that information. So I was just being fed with all that backstory and all the military stuff, and so I was very blessed to have that as an actor. But my main focus really was showing the sort of burden of the character that George was, and I really wanted to focus on that. So yeah, I mean, and it was just getting to know George, and then connecting to my own mental health issues and my own struggles and everything else that I've gone through. Yeah, and I don't know, it was like putting your hand in a glove. It just felt really natural, a natural connection. It wasn't really a stretch. I didn't feel like, as soon as George and I met, we connected, and it was great. And George was there the whole time, so yeah, I wasn't trying to mimic him, but I was just trying to be a version of him.
An on-screen version. And you mentioned that a lot of your crew are veterans. I know that, George is obviously a veteran, and then your co-director was a veteran. Was there an effort to kind of cast veterans in this movie? I wasn't sure, where you found the cast, if any of them had foreign military experience as well.
Some did, yeah. We actually, when we were doing the casting, we did mention to encourage veterans to submit. So some of the actors were, but most of the key cast probably weren't. But we had a mixture of them. But yeah, we put it out there, and yeah, so I mean, it's hard because we weren't shooting in one spot. So we had the four leads that were with me, Haley, Michael, and Nick and Andrew and stuff. But then they came. Nick was from New York and the others were from LA. But then because we were shooting from Maine or Georgia, we had to find day players all throughout. So some of them were military, some of them weren't. But yeah, so we tried to do that. We had a few that were definitely with military backgrounds, and one of the actors even has a small part in it. He couldn't, he was really emotionally connected to the material. He couldn't even read the script. It was affecting him so much. And again, straight away, this is what this film does to people, makes them aware of their own PTSD and maybe stuff that they're dealing with that they didn't even realize. So yeah, but that was pretty powerful.
Yeah, for sure. And how it's the four kind of main actors, like, how did you get them ingrained in the military? Did you send them to boot camp? I mean, that would be a fun experience for them to do.
Well, we don't have the budget.
Or the risk that they're not going to want to do it after going to boot camp.
I think throwing them on this trail and some of the accommodation was probably a boot camp.
Yeah,
yeah. So I think that was a bit of a culture shock. It was like, where are we? But yeah, I think, because it wasn't so as much of the like, I think obviously if we're shooting a war film, and it was, but because they're really, it was one of those things, we didn't have those resources, and it was just like, look, we just have to jump in the deep end, and that's what it was really. That was the kind of boot camp was, hey, you're casting this film, we shoot it in a week, and then we, here we go. And they find themselves on the Appalachian Trail, staying at this funny hotel, these funny hostels and stuff. And that was like, yeah. And I think just having George around and stuff, and then of course one of the biggest things that George was able to do, especially with Michael and stuff, was connect him to one of the real characters, his father, and he could even talk on the phone. And they had those options and stuff, and yeah. But having George on set, the four actors could talk to him about any backstory issues and stuff, and so yeah, it seemed to kind of all work.
I hope you at least woke everyone up at like 0500 with I think Revelry or something like that.
Right. Yeah, we're a film. We actually do it. Start that early. Yeah, first AD comes in.
And George, I know that a lot of this was filmed back on the trail. What was it like being back on that trail? Like, was that comfortable, uncomfortable? I don't know if you've been back hiking that trail ever since your experience. So, what was it like returning to it?
Oh, yeah, I'm at home on the trail. It was comforting, soothing. It was also surreal to watch my life being played out, kind of like I'm stepping outside my body and watching what happened those years back, and uh, kind of just shaking my head and uh, scared that I was actually in that position. Uh, I finished the trail two more times, so I've got three total through hikes. Uh, I do get back on the trail, plan on another through hike, uh, and it's a beautiful place. It's hard, it's hard terrain. It's very difficult. It doesn't take long, to get your hiking legs, obviously. Um, and for like Angus, was saying, having to go to each location. I think the boot camp started on the first day, and I'm pretty sure every one of those actors was thinking, I got to call my agent. Um, it was drizzling, cold, or chilly. And in Maine, you have black flies and gnats, and they don't have much of a memory, so you can swat them and they'll come right back to you. One of the actors, Nicolas Asad, plays Wade Bacon. He would try to say his line and he'd eat a few gnats. So yeah, they were thrust into that life the day one, and from day one they just got better and more committed to what they're doing. And I mean, they pulled off something that I don't think any other crew could have done what we did. Yeah, like Angus said, it's not one of the big major budget movies, but when you see it, you would think that it's a big budget movie. And one comment that I heard on the trail was, punching above our weight grade,
Mhm.
or weight class, because it is cinematography is so beautiful. Blessed to have the cinematographer we had, and just everything meshed, and they embraced what the story was, and that's hard to do. I'm not an actor, but watching them do what they did, the talent that they could take the person they were playing and become that person. When the families saw the movie, they contacted me and said, "Yeah, that's my daughter," or that was Sophie, or that's my son, that was Wade, or
Mhm.
Anthony, and it made me happy. When I told the actors, they were just like, "Wow," that they were so happy that they were able to portray that and put that on film. So it would help other people.
Yeah, for sure. That's a great story and a great testament to like the punching above your weight class. It definitely does feel like a movie that has a bigger budget than what it sounds like it had. So, I know we have limited time. I'm going to switch to a lightning round. They're just lightweight questions about the film. I want to see how your personal experiences map to things on the film. George, I imagine your personal experiences map very, very closely to things on the film. So I will try to keep some interesting questions for you, but you can feel free to pass any of them. I will not be offended, but I try to keep them very answerable. First question for Angus: have you ever thought about joining the military?
No, uh, I couldn't handle it. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, that's definitely for a different species of human. Yeah, I'm in awe of them, but I could never do it. No.
Fair, fair, fair question. I know George, you are clearly a hiker. You've hiked this multiple times. Angus, are you a hiker at all?
Yeah, not like George's, but I do. Where I live, we have a lot of hiking trails literally behind my house. So I do very short, few hour hikes and stuff like that. But I love it. I actually really enjoy hiking. So yeah, uh, but I haven't done the Appalachian Trail in full, but it's something I love. But in a small scale. Yeah.
Sure. George, do you have, or I know George, you have a hiker name. It's clear. Angus, do you have a hiker name, or do you have another nickname that you go by?
Well, what was my hike? I think they ended up giving me
Oh,
keeper
did you
You're
get a
two.
hiker
keeper.
name?
Yeah, he was keeper. He was keeper too.
Keeper two?
And
Perfect.
it's Yeah, there's only one keeper on the registry for the Appalachian Trail forever. I mean, I've searched and no one has keeper. So he's got a rare name.
That's awesome. Yeah, keeper two. Perfect. Continue the tradition. I love it. What are either of your favorite trail meals?
George, what do you
Oh,
think?
I'd probably say back in town, pancakes, bacon, eggs. But yeah, it would be Mountain House freeze dried, the foods, or ramen with tuna fish. Kind of tastes a little Chinesey out there, but aside from the bugs and occasional squirrel, we eat normal stuff out there. Yeah.
And Skittles and Snickers are popular.
Oh yeah, the Skittles and Stickers. That's gold. I mean, you'll make so many friends with those.
Those all sound good. The movie had a scene where George's character stays in a place that's a little bit spooky. What is the spookiest place that you have all stayed in?
That was probably you. That was your. George was still afraid of the hostel. Apparently, there was no ghost. The hostel owner said there was no ghost, but George was like still convinced.
Of course, they would say there's no ghost. Of course, they would say that.
He's trying not to hurt his business.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I've stayed. I think the house I grew up in was probably when my childhood home was had something in it. I'm sure. And anytime anyone would stay there, they'd be freaked out. So I think we had a ghost in the house. But yeah, I've had a few encounters like that. So I get it. I understand, and I'm sure George did see a ghost. So
for sure. And it's a recurring joke in a lot of military, conversation. Have either of you ever eaten crayons?
Not a Marine, no sir. In middle school, yeah, glue, but I think every kid's eating glue in his time. So
that's fair.
I have to ask Kenny. Maybe.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? Whatever it takes. I mean, look, if it takes that to fuel, that kind of energy, it must work, right? Like the Marines are are definitely a different species. And the last question is, this movie is about, George carrying these name tapes, these memories of people, these kind of like symbols of people. Are there any mementos that you carry with you, on a daily basis, something that you have that's either personal or something like that?
Is that me or Angus?
Both, but we'll start with you, George.
Yeah, I carry these for the past 7.5 years. These are the original ones.
Oh wow.
This is what they were in the film. This is the actual ones I carried, and I carry them everywhere I go. So yeah, they're my family, and I'll drop everything I'm doing if their families call me and need anything. So yeah, they're very, very special. Very special.
Yeah, I mean, besides photos of my son and my wife and my wallet and stuff. But during the filming, I had the dog tags. I carried all them the whole time, and yeah, but just that's all I have really.
Perfect. All right, so the film is out on May 24th, 2024. It is The Keeper. This is the director and star Angus Benfield, and the I guess subject, co-writer, and brief star. He had an appearance as well. George Eshleman. The movie is just a kind of heartfelt, interesting drama about a very important message and a very kind of important topic in both the military community and in everyday life. So definitely make sure to check it out. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was Angus Benfield and George Eshleman of The Keeper, which is coming to theaters on May 24th, 2024. It is a heartfelt true story about one veteran's quest to honor his fallen comrades and also to bring awareness to veteran mental health and suicide. If you like this interview, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.